So this is going to be an introductory tutorial to Ostranauts, and basically what I'm going to show you here is what you need to buy when you start out the game, how to do the basic navigation and dock with your first derelict, and just talk a little bit about what you need to do from there. So let's get into it. Okay, so when you're starting out, basically, I'm not going to talk too much about the career and the self-care. It doesn't matter too much what you're doing with that, so you can just decide what you want to do. But I want to start with the supplies, because what you do here is actually quite important at the beginning of the game. So a couple of things, I'll just explain this screen. So this is what you currently have in stock, and then of course you can buy things that you don't currently have in stock. So you do start out with a drill, you do also start out with a pressure suit, helmet, and the suit itself, which you are going to need. And essentially you have, yeah, it's basically just this. So you don't have drinks, you don't have food. So what I would recommend, you pick up food and drinks anyway, but you can buy some of this if you need to. So you may want to buy a couple of drink pouches. Doesn't matter too much. Actually, we're just going to do one for now. And you want to buy some food. So I'm just going to start with the Kung Pao chicken. Again, I don't think it matters too much. I'm just going to buy 4. You will pick these up in the derelicts anyway. Then other things that you might need. So the laser torch is actually quite important for salvaging ships and making changes to ships. So it is good to have one of these as well. Spend some of your money on that. The crowbar is quite useful. It's quite cheap as well. You can use this to pry open doors and containers. And then also you will need conduits and hole patches. So I would recommend just buying as much of these as you can at the start of the game. This will really help you to outfit a ship if you find one that you can basically fix up. The rest of the stuff, you can buy small electronic parts and mechanical parts to fix up ships, but you do tend to find them on ships anyway, so it's not essential to have that. The work lamp is incredibly useful. You definitely want one of these. Fire extinguisher, O2 bottle, and the battery. You can get these. I've never used the fire extinguisher before, so I'm not going to buy it right now. O2 bottle and EVA battery, that is useful once you have an EVA suit, but that probably comes a little bit later. So for now, I'm not going to buy that. So I'm just going to stick to this. Doesn't cost a whole lot. And it also doesn't really matter what you did in the career. You should have enough to at least buy what I've just bought. So we'll exit here, and then we will continue to open this door. So, sorry, wrong one. So we're just going to open this door, and then we will launch our first ship. Okay, so we are underway. Right, so this is the first ship that you'll start out on, and you may be using this one for a little while until you can find a derelict that you can salvage and start using as your own ship so that you have a bigger ship. I'll just quickly walk you through the basics here. So you basically have these, the RCS system. So this manages these thrusters that you have on the side of the ship. Everything will be functional at the start. You do have one battery installed, so this ship, because it's so small, doesn't have a reactor, so you have to rely on battery power only, and I don't think there's any way to charge these batteries on the ship. You can of course charge it once you get onto a derelict that does have a reactor. You've got the air pump over here, it's just going to be pumping in, let's just see what we have over here, so basically the oxygen into the ship. And then you also have the O2 pressure alarm, which is just making sure that the pressure is at the right level, and you have a heater, which, you know, as the name suggests, makes sure that the temperature is regulated. So that's how everything here works. Just for these terminals, basically what you can do is, so we'll go to the nav station. You can link this to your PDA, and this will allow you to rename the ship if you want to do that. So once it's connected here, you'll see that you can rename any vessels. You can do the same thing once you've salvaged the ship as well. So just in case you do want to do that. But what we want to do right now is just get into the navigation itself. So we'll start using this. Now this is going to give you a little bit of a guide in terms of how all of the controls work. But I'm just going to show you how to dock with any one of the derelicts that we can see on the screen here. So you can flip to the map controls. This allows you to move the map around. You don't really need to do that at the start because you just need to move to one of these derelicts. And then you can click back to RCS maneuvers, which will make WASD, Q and E control the ship. These are just different levels of zoom. So this is the closest one, and then you can zoom out to different levels for if you want to do deep space travel, essentially. And right, so I think the rest of this, don't worry about it too much for now. Let's just focus on getting to one of these derelicts. So I'm gonna just right click here and left click on this target. So this will set this ship as my target. So we're going to be flying towards that. And the important ones that you want to look at in terms of the readouts is the relative velocity that you have to this. You're going to need to keep an eye on that. You want to look at the range. So it's currently 52 kilometers away. Now to get to that, I think let's just check, are we currently docked with anything? No, I don't think we start out docked. So we can basically just start flying over to that. So I'm just going to press E here to swing the ship around, and then I'm going to hold down Q to sort of balance this out on the other side. And we seem to be more or less aligned with this one. I think we might be a little bit off. Let's just do another adjustment here. And then I'm just going to start moving forward. So we'll start moving forward. I'm going to get the relative velocity up to about 100 meters per second. You can fly faster than that. Just keep in mind, so this RCS remass, this is essentially how much fuel you've got left. And it's not an issue with a small ship like this, but with the bigger ships, you definitely want to keep an eye on that. If you're flying these short distances, there's no reason to get the relative velocity up really high because you can just speed up the time. So just keep that in mind. Also, it's a little bit safer because if you're moving at a very high velocity and you're going to hit something, it's going to take a long time for you to slow down again. So just do keep that in mind. But basically, we're just going to have a look here and speed up time a little bit, and this will also give you an idea of the trajectory. So we can see I'm a little bit off course here. I can slightly, okay, I'm adjusting course quite a bit. I think once we get closer, I'll try to make some course correction here. Or actually, we could just change the target instead as well. Right now, I don't know what any of these are, so it doesn't really matter which one we're flying to. So we're just going to change target, and then we should be on course for the right one. Now, one thing that's good is that when you get within about 5.5 kilometer range, it will automatically stop the time acceleration, so you don't have to worry about slamming into things because of time acceleration. And you'll see, so that happens now, and that starts the proximity warning. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to go over here, select this docking target, and say accept. And then we are actually coming in a little bit fast. I wouldn't advise doing that on your first go. So once you get to a closer range, so what I generally do is once I get to about, say, 2 kilometers or so, I'll start going below 100 relative velocity. But do be careful to come in too fast. So we'll move this down to about 74 for now. I'll keep doing that until I get to about 1 kilometer range. And I do think the range depends on the size of the ship. So this is applicable for the small ship, but be careful if you're flying the bigger ship. So, okay, I'm just going to bring down the speed to below 40 here, line this up completely, and then I'm going to wait at around 600. Okay, now we can engage the clamp. So as soon as that green light shows up, you can engage that. And if you do want to get rid of this proximity warning, you can just click on clear. I know that can get a little bit annoying at times. So now we've docked with our first derelict, and we can just exit this over here, and we'll walk over to the airlock. So what you want to do now is you put on the pressure suit, and keep in mind that this doesn't have its own oxygen supply, so it's only going to have the oxygen essentially that's in the suit when you start. And so we're just going to start by doing that. Oh, this is interesting. The helmet doesn't seem to cover his hair. That's probably just a bug at this point. And then we will open up this door, and this is kind of this little ship's airlock. So you do want to close this door again before you start exploring. And then we can open, so this is our ship's external airlock, and we're also going to open this derelict's external airlock. And then you basically start exploring the ship and you see what you've got available. So this is a very small ship. Generally, you find bigger ones. It doesn't have much on it. It does have some of these nitrogen canisters on it, which is useful. So you probably want to salvage this. And it's got a spare battery. It's got a couple of other things. So at this stage, this is all you're going to be doing. You're going to be looking around. You take stuff from the ships that's useful. You can't take too much at the start because, of course, your ship isn't all that big. but you try to take stuff that's useful so that when you eventually find a ship that you can fix up and use as your own, you have what's necessary to do that. So useful things to have include things like floor panels, walls, if you want to use that to patch up the ship. Again, you can only carry so much. It is good to have some of these canisters in case the one that you want to fix up doesn't have that. But before we get to the end of this video, I just want to show you one other thing. So we're going to close this up and just close this up again. Get back into the ship. So you're going to do this every time. Don't keep wearing the pressure suit because it will eventually run out of oxygen. So you take off the pressure suit when you're done with it. Just put on your standard suit again. And so the last task that the game gives you as part of its tutorial is just to change the battery. So if you're going to be exploring ships, what you want to be doing, you don't need to carry the PDA around everywhere. I would recommend that you take the work lamp and you also take the crowbar. This is what you're usually going to need to do some exploring, to pry open doors. You switch on the work lamp. And this means that even if a ship doesn't have power, you're going to be able to see. Now the game is going to ask you to replace this battery. So the way you do that is you just click on uninstall. You can speed up the time for this because it does take a little while. Okay, so now, and this is where the work lamp, having that in your hand is useful because we can still see. So you're just going to take this battery and pick it up. And then you can put it down here. Now, if you want to put it in that exact spot, the way this works is if I open up the inventory, you can see this is the other battery, and I can just drag this directly next to it and put it in the exact spot that I wanted. And then I can pick up the fully charged battery. And you click over on the build panel, build panel, and click on the battery, and you just pop this in here. And then he'll automatically go about, provided that he does have the materials, he'll automatically go about installing this. And this is the same for everything that you do. So once you find a ship, you can use this to look at the ship's power and what's connected and what's not connected. And I will do a separate video on that as well. And then you can use the build command to fix up the hull, do all sorts of different things. Also keep in mind that if you do find a broken wall, you can just right click on that and you can patch it with a hull patch. And that's why you have to buy those hull patches. So this is what you're going to need to know to get started. And now basically you're able to fly around and explore different derelicts. The next two videos that I'm going to be making, so the first one's going to be about how to start up the reactors, because every ship that you're going to be exploring, in order to use it, you're going to need to have a working reactor and the resources that goes along with that. So that's going to be my next video. And following that, I'll also make a video to show you a fully working ship, what the different components are and why each one is important. So that's it for this one. If you do like this kind of content, please do like and subscribe. Also, if you want to see more videos on this game specifically, and then I'll see you for the next video.